What's up, YouTube? Team 3 Stars here with another deck profile. This time is a little different from what it was before. We've been doing a lot of Vanguard, but today we're going to do Buddyfight. This deck, it's Magic World, not Wizards though, 72 Pillars. I've played 72 Pillars since it came out. Love it. It's had a rough patch, and it's coming back very strong. This deck went 5-2 at the Houston Regional, earning me 16th place. So let's get into the deck profile. I'm playing 1, Reminiscing the Homeland, Marcosius. It's pay 1 gauge. He's a 3 attack, 3 crit, 1 defense. Very good card. I only have 1 because I'd only bought 1 the night before. I had never tested the card out, just threw 1 in. I'd taken out a size 3 that was in here, and I'll show you what I had in there. And it made the deck run a little smoother. There were a couple problems with it that I ran into, but we'll talk about that a little later. Then we have 4 Demon Lord Asmodai. Discard 1, destroy a monster on the board. Can't say much more about that. It's a great card. And my buddy. Then we have Demon Dr. Brewer. Takes the top card of your deck, puts it in your gauge, and then at the end of your opponent's turn, he goes to the graveyard. So he normally goes in the center, pretty much just a body that gains gauge. And normally there's something that can attack their center, or this can attack a 1000 defense monster, which is very nice. Then we're playing 4 Eligos. It's an attack and defense card. He's a 1/2/1. I always say the crit in the middle, by the way. But he has a counter that when the opponent attacks, you can pay 1 life and call this to the center and change the target to him. And then if he's destroyed, his other ability is when this card is destroyed, you may take him and pay 1 gauge and put him back in your hand. This really helps against 3 crit or more attacks that don't have penetrate. And helps for the late game for the extra 2 crit or extra crit compared to everything else in the deck. Then I'm playing probably one of the most clutch cards in the deck for me. 4 Let's Play Asmodai. This one says when this comes into play, if you have a card with Asmodai and its card name in my drop zone, I gain 1 life. There's so many shenanigans with this card that literally there were about, I think I counted 7 games where the life I gained off this was the reason that I ended up winning. I would have lost without him. Then I'm playing 4. I call him Just Dance Asmodai. He's a 6/2/1, pay 1 gauge. When he comes to play, draw a card. Great first turn play. 2 crit, pay gauge, replenish the hand if you're going first, which I went first every single game in Buddyfight. So, yeah, this card's great. And then my size 3. I was playing 3 the day before the regional, and then decided to play 2 Champion Wrestler Asmodai. He's a call cost of 2 gauge, and then his ability is backdrop as many times as you want. And when he enters the field, I can discard as many cards you like from my hand, and then I destroy that many cards on the opponent's field. This card, super great. And then he has double attack. I'll talk a little bit about him. So let me put some of the cards off to the side that I want to talk about. This guy. Okay. Then I'm playing 1 Oops. It was just a tech against Seeger, against Dungeon World. The few games like I can count on one hand that I've won is because of an Oops against Dungeon World. You bounce the Glory Seeker back to their hand, and they have no way to prevent or to gain life after you kill them. 1 Abracadabra. I play this at 1 as well. Same thing. This stops mission cards, and then it also stops Dragon Shields when you're swinging for a game, which is very nice. We'll talk about Sideboard too in a little bit. 2 Devil's Advantage. This one is pay 1 gauge. Choose 2 72 Pillars that have the same name and put them into your hand. This card, again, there's so many clutch cards in this deck. Talk about that. Then I play 2 Check It Out. I haven't seen this card as much in decks. but this one's pay 2 gauge. You return all your monsters to your hand, and it's counter, and then you may play one monster, any size, from your hand by paying its call cost. This card has some great synergy with the deck, and I'll talk about it. Then 3 keeps all in first volume. I was playing 4, took one out for one of the Oops or the Abracadabra. I saw these so often that I ended up having to gauge them anyway, because there's nothing else in my hand that I would rather gauge. Putting them at 3 almost is still a little too much. I see them some games way too many times, and see them some games not at all. So, I don't know. Then we have one of the win conditions. 4 great spells, Saturday Night, Devil Fever. I always say Dance Fever, but this one is pay 2 gauge and 1 life, and it has another condition that you must have 6 72 pillars in your graveyard. Drop zone. They don't have to be different name like the wizard one. They should be the same. Any 6. And then I choose up to 3 size 1 72 pillars and put them on the field, and it's a counter. Great defensive spell, great offensive spell, and again, there's a lot of synergy with this deck. Then I have 4. Nice one. Staple. Pay 1 gauge, draw 2 cards once a turn. 4 goodbyes. Bounce a size 2 or less monster to your opponent, to the owner's hand. Again, lots of synergy with this card. I play 4 Solomon Shield, and again, staple, counters a attack if it's not like attack, or negates, I should say. And then 3 Gunrod Bechstein. I was playing hardcores in here, and I tried the Asmodai impacts for a while, and I decided that this card just works so much better, in my opinion. It is a constant 1 damage, which is just ridiculously good, and won me several games in the tournament. So let's talk about some of the great things about this deck. Some of the synergy combos I was talking about. So, this card here, Devil's Advantage, grabs a lot of cards out of the deck, including Saturday Night Dance Fever, Devil Fever, Dance Fever, whatever. It's a 72 pillar spell. Or it just says, this card just says 72 pillar. 2 72 pillar from the drop zone. So if you have 2 of these in the drop zone, you can grab 2 of them. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 health, you can essentially, well, depends. There's a way to do it twice with, like, Asmodai, and there was a weird, I had a way to do it before. I haven't been able to do it again because of the way the deck works, but it definitely helps. This card. The Let's Plays. The one bad thing about the Let's Play Asmodai, which I have the same problem with this Asmodai, the Demon Lord Asmodai, is when you draw a Let's Play right off the bat and no other monster, you kind of have to play him, because this deck does not survive very well without a center, and so you lose the ability right off the bat. I thought about dropping him to 3, but this card just gains so much life. And the same problem if you go first with Demon Lord Asmodai, and that's the only creature in your hand. When you play him, you don't get to backdrop, which just makes this card a vanilla, which is not very good. I am planning on playing more of him, the 3 crit guy. The problem I ran into, though, is a lot of times I had all the 6 72 pillars for Devil Fever, and then I went into searching my graveyard, and everything was a 1 crit except for this, and I only had 2 gauge. Probably partially my fault for not managing my gauge as well, but this card, this is the only drawback, is the 1 gauge, which is, it needs to be 1 gauge because of the 3 crit, but The 1 gauge just makes this card a little harder to play when the deck asks for a lot of gauge. Champion Wrestler Asmodai, key card in my last win. I'll talk about that each round in a second. Then we had Check It Out. There were a lot of games where I had 2 Let's Plays on the board. Okay, so you check it out, put them back, play 1, gain another life. You've got 1 in hand, gain another life. You've gained 4 life for 2 gauge, essentially, at that point, which is pretty darn good with this deck who can't gain life. Same with Goodbye. They swing at the center, Let's Play, you goodbye it back to your hand. Next turn you play it again, gain another life. I mean, it cancels out a lot of what they do. So let's kind of talk about rounds. First round, I played against a Dragon World deck, and it was a pretty easy matchup. New person to the game, so. Second round, I played a mirror match, which I was not expecting at all with this deck. I thought I was probably going to be one of the only people because of the inconsistencies it could have. The games were very close. He played a lot more defensive spells. I only play the 4 Solomon Shields because in my testing of the deck, the Chillaxes just end up in the gauge anyway for me. There's usually better cards in my hand than the Chillax. The deck did really well with just the 4 shields and the 4 goodbyes. I ended up pulling that one out because of the Gunrod. Gunrod literally won me games this tournament. Let's see, what else? Third round, I played against Crimson Brawlers, which I had not seen. I had to read all of the guys' cards. He 2-0'd me pretty quickly. I couldn't deal with restanding. He could deal 7 on turn 1 and then like 10 on turn 2. I couldn't deal with it. I had no clue what I was really going against. He ended up top 8ing, guy from Missouri. Really cool guy. I enjoyed the game. It was just, I had no clue what I was getting into. Fourth round, I played against Skull Warriors, a guy from Jersey. Again, another deck I had not really played against since set 2. Game 1, he took me pretty quickly. And then I think I sided in, my sideboard. I sided in Power Ray Maximums. That is probably one of the cards I love in this deck for the sideboard. And then round 4, I played against a guy I had played. Round 5. Sorry, round 5. I played against a guy who I played the very first round of the last regional that was in Fort Worth. Dungeon World, which for me, this deck has so much trouble with Dungeon World. The penetrate and the constant able to get things back into the field. The deck, for me, this deck plays a very good long game, really, now that it has a lot of draw and a lot of life gain. And the long game to just wait him out and finally win. And Dungeon World is the complete opposite. It can come back very easily from nothing, essentially. Game 1 totally wiped the field with me. Game 2, I was able to stall him out and then had the Gunrod to deal lethal damage. We went to game 3 with like 10 minutes left. I think he ended up winning on turn 3 or 4 with he played a Tenbu. I had a full field. I had forgot about Tenbu, and he had played Tenbu and 2 size zeros and swung for 7 on like turn 3. And then next turn played Glory Seeker, and I had almost no cards in hand. And I got him to 1, and so if I could have survived the turn, that would have been it, but it was a good game. Game 6 was against the opponent I played second round in the very first Buddyfight Regional in Houston about a year ago. This is the kid that, pretty good deck. Dragon Knights. I think he was playing Dragon Knights then too. But the first time we played, I kept getting pestered about taking life on a notepad. So I just ended up dropping and giving him the win. I was done with the judge's continual pestering. This time he had me on the ropes. So yeah, I ended up pulling that win out with some oopses, sideboard, and let's see, then we go to round 7, last round of the tournament. I flip over my sleeve, he sees Demon Lord Asmodai, and he goes, I hope you're not playing Asmodai, or I hope you're not playing Magic World, and his sleeves are Jackknife. I had no clue why he was worried. Flipped over, he was actually playing Seeger. Game 1, I had to play the long game. He didn't Seeger very early, and I didn't draw into Oops, so I had to get through, I think, Seeger and the second form before I could finally get to him. And then Game 2, I sided in 3 Oopses, and opened up with, he went first. No, that's the one game I lost the die roll. He went first. I opened up with a Champion Wrestler and 6 cards. He plays Seeger, but he calls Seeger on turn 1. So on my turn 1, I drop the Asmodai, dropping 3 cards. And the effect works where the ability goes off at separate times. I made sure to ask after the event. Judge ruled the same way. I asked after the event on the group. Each one goes a separate time, and so the Champion Wrestler for 3 cards can kill Seeger. The guy had no gauge, so he lost the 5. Was going to take the 4. I had the weapon, dealt 1. He was at 1 on turn 1, and so yeah, pretty crazy. Ended up going 5 and 2, getting 16th. Really enjoyed the event this time. So sideboard, we're just going to talk real quick. I played one more Devil Advantage. Really, for me, the sideboard is just things that I have trouble playing against. And then 2 fillers. These are the 2 fillers. First volume, just in case I need the extra 2 gauge, which you'll see why when I show you the rest of my sideboard. I play 2 Abracadabras. It makes it 3 in total. I play 3 Power A Maximums for Thunder Knights, for Dungeon World, this card is, I almost want to mainboard it, but there's no room. And then I play 3 extra Oops for the Seeger matchup, for the Dungeon World matchup, and sometimes for the Dragon World, Danger World matchup to Oops the weapon when they go in for the game win. Yeah, but that is the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed, and please like and subscribe below, and see you later.